Cream and mushroom soup.
It was, you know what? I'm glad you said that, but it was a Dorita casserole soup.
Oh, okay.
And what she needed was she needed chopped chopped black olives. And I promise you, every line had people in it. God said, I need you to go to the longest line. Why? Because I said I wanted him to help me with my patience. So for those listeners out there that's taken on Kurt's title of how may I serve you, you have to be willing to go beyond the boundaries and not let your pride or your ego get in the way, because that's the test. When we say, I want this, the test comes.
Wow. Now, see, oh, man. Now, that's
I got some too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I won't cut across. Go on ahead, Mustang. Shout it out.
Oh, no, I was going to wait on you, but you know what he said, it hit on another one for us guys out there too. And I like what we're starting to do is addressing these us guys, because we're all talking. I mean, even though they're not here, we're talking all. You might as well, guys. You might as well be here. All right. So another thing he said, boom, right there. Listen, when we're praying for something or just asking for something or just want something, you know, but I'm going to speak specifically with Christians right now. If we're asking for something from God, I need help being patient. You know, Evan Almighty is a wonderful movie. And that one is the one with Morgan Freeman and another famous actor. I can't remember right now. But long story short, he said, you know, if you ask for patience, is God going to zap you with immediate patience? If you ask for a better relationship with your family, is he going to give you, boom, warm fuzzies, and all of a sudden, or is he going to give you, all of a sudden you're better with your family, or is he going to give you the opportunity to be patient? Is he going to give you the opportunity to be closer to your family? You know, oh my God, I wish my son would come home. I wish he would come home. But your son calls and you bless him out every time he calls. Or you want to be closer to your wife, but every time she wants to get close to you outside of the realm of sex, all of a sudden you want to be rude to her, disrespectful to her, put her down for doing things. But yet you want to pray about being closer to her. Do you want to be closer to her, or do you want to want to be closer to her, or do you want to sacrifice yourself and use every opportunity given to you to be closer to her? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think, you're really hitting on that very, very deep, part of that walk. I think each of us has a personal walk that I think every man has to go on a journey, and there are certain lessons every man has to learn. You know, there's this notion of when you're, trying to develop patience, you're going to have to wait a lot. If you're trying to develop loving kindness, you're going to be around people who are hard to love. If you're trying to develop forgiveness, there's going to be a lot of people doing you wrong. I mean, almost everything you pray for, the antithesis of that comes to you to promote that development. Is there a point at which you have to say, enough is enough when you talk about humility? Is there a point at which you can decide, or you need to decide, that you're not able to help someone? Is there a point?
No, let's see. I'm going to say this. There's always a part to where you can stretch yourself too thin. And, a good friend of mine just the other day was talking to me. She was telling me that I don't know if I can do this. And I'm like, well, what is the problem? I can't go across town to help this young lady out and then be over here to do this for this other person. I said, well, you have to call one of them and tell them that you can't. I just can't do it. And that right there was her pride and her ego. Why? Because you're trying to help two people at the same time and you can't.
Right.
There was no, and if we sit back and look at Jesus' walk, he didn't do that. He was with one person and he let somebody else die, but he knew he would go to that person. Why? Because he's showing us that there's no way you can do two things at one time. The worst thing that we could ever experience in life is for someone to ask us, and people have a habit of doing this, can you multitask? That's not how God designed us. He didn't design us to multitask. You're creating, or you're instilling in us to do multiple things, but then when things happen, you want us to try to rectify it, and now you're putting pressure on us. We do as much as we possibly can. And there's no problem with a person saying, you know what, I can do this, but I can't do this with that. Well, you can't multitask. No, it's not that I can't. I choose not to. Why? That's not, I don't want my pride to get in the way if I can't accomplish it, because it will.
You bring up a very good point. Does pride drive us to try to accomplish things that we maybe we shouldn't even try to accomplish? That's again another ego thing. Are we, for example, do we work harder so we can drive that bigger this or do that, or do we keep that situation just so we can be, a bigwig? I mean, are there other ways that we make decisions that allow us to fall into these pride-filled experiences, like we're living for the Joneses? I mean, living for the Joneses is basically nothing more than pride. I mean, that's really what it is.
I heard that.
Oh, go ahead, B.
Just trying to think of putting words together for the issue of pride and sharing things from my personal life. And like you were saying, Kurt, about the living with the Joneses. I mean, for me, as I look at it, I hate to say, my pride ended up making me religious, believing that, hey, I know Jesus, but yet I want to do these other things, so I'm going to speak the right things. I want to say the right things. I want to have an ego to be a Christian because I'm letting my pride take that over, and that, as we know, is a dangerous line to walk, but not paralleling with anything, but the fact that, mine doesn't come from living for the Joneses or the next great big job or the next, whatever step that advances you so you can have that pride in something. And, I just, living that religious life was being prideful because I could show people I go to church, I do all these things, and it was just me being full of pride because I could do this, but yet, the other part of my life I tried to keep hidden. So
I'm really glad you said that, BA. That's something that I've seen a change in my life where I used to, I remember used to being like one of those Jesus people, and I'd hold my Bible and I'd go up to people and tell them not to smoke, and go up to people and tell them not to curse, and do all this stuff. Just this really foolish, law-based, Pharisee type person. And then I slowly began to understand that it's not before I was doing it out of this is what the Bible says, so this is what I do. As opposed to, but I have no idea, Jesus, I'm not spending time reading his word. I'm not really doing much. Just, I know we're not supposed to do this and you're doing it. Okay. As opposed to later, it became a passion. It became a compassion. It became a compulsion. It became this person's over here doing something, or this person's angry, or whatever. I'm not mad at you at all. Oh my gosh, I'm the farthest thing from it. I can't believe that. And the people that I know and love are upset with me because I will not join their side when they're upset with somebody else, but because I'm beginning to learn and see something deeper than that. So, at first, kind of like you, it's this prideful thing, like, oh, look at me, I'm good, I'm holy, I'm pious, yay. And when I began to have difficulty with pornography, I had problems with anger, I had problems with being short with my wife, I had problems with this, that, and the other, I began, wait a minute, this guy's doing this. He's drinking. Okay, well, you're upset with him, but he's drinking for a reason. This guy over here's on dope, but he's on dope for a reason. That's no different than you trying to get a little high, when you come home from your job, you're stressed out. I need a glass of wine. You're trying to take your mind off of your day. Or I need to watch me a little pornography. You're trying to get you a little high to take your mind off your day. So it's the exact same thing. I'm not judging this guy over here, and it became more of a subservient. Bro, what's going on? What do you need? You want to go out and get some coffee? You want to hang out? What is it? Now all of a sudden I'm looking weird to my buddies because they're like, wait a minute, this dude was just rude. He smokes this. He does this. Why are you over here chatting with him? He was just disrespectful to me. Well, there's a reason, brother. You know what I mean? So anyway, it just began to change my outlook on things.
That's deep.
Just getting a little closer.
Yeah, that actually was a very good point. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interject, but I think that whole notion of pride means that when you talk about ego, we can be good on our own. And it's interesting. We can be good at something on our own, or we can judge others because we don't sin like they do. You know what I mean? Or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not that we don't sin. We just don't sin like they do.
Like they do.
Yeah. And we're okay with that. We feel somewhat justified that our sin isn't as bad as their sin. And therefore I could be prideful because I don't sin like they do. And it's a bunch of bunk. It's foolishness. And I think really your point speaks to this owning that everybody has difficulty, everybody owning that, coming to, as Christians, which, I know the show is not necessarily, everybody who listens is not necessarily a Christian or a Christ follower. So I try not to reference biblical passages too much, but what I do know is that when you look at sin, everybody's done it. We all are sick with it. So it's very, very difficult for anybody to point the finger at anyone else and say you're a sinner. It's true. You are. Everybody is a sinner. So it doesn't give us any special treatment because we all fall. We all do. Now, the question is, how can we overcome this notion of ego? How can we overcome this notion of pride so that we are some earthly good, not on our own, sort of judge in a judgmental way, pharisaical way, or a by the book kind of a way? But how do we overcome that?
Well, that's a good question, Norman. I would say this. The only way to overcome pride and ego is with humility. You have to become humble first. I say that. That's why my slogan is NOLA 73, meet you where you at. Because no matter where you at, I want to meet you there, and then we can go from there. If I sit back, like Mustang said, and look at how your past was, because we're all judgmental, every human is, we will not accept what we don't want to tolerate or what we don't understand. But we have to still become humble. And the same way we become humble, we are able to, then God is able to open up your eyes and allow you to see things a lot different. And then you see the struggle that person have, but you also see the struggle that you have. It's a struggle for a person to be private. Like, oh man, it's easy to down this person and down that person. That's your pride down in those people. That's your ego down in those people. Sure. Now, if those people look at you, man, he think he a goody two shoe. That's their pride doing the same thing. Both of us got sin, and then we don't even have to discuss the illness. We just talking about the sin. The sin is you got pride and I got pride. Your pride is I'm on this side not smoking dope with you. My pride is you smoking dope, but you don't have pornography stuck in your life like I do. But we both are in sin.
But everybody got sin.
And so everybody has sin. The thing is, what is the issue? Well, I'm not looking at your issue. Well, don't look at my issue. That go to pride. So when do we ever meet? Well, we both have to become humble.
Yeah, I think you're right that humility plays a big role. So the question is, how does one become humble? How does one take on, what's the difference between humility and humiliation, since they both sound so very similar. Mustang, you want to comment on that?
I think, well, the first question, how does one become humble? I mean, literally kind of, how does one become a better fighter? Training. And of course I could easily see you fabricating some situations on your own,